high-tech foam brush. You can get these anywhere, really. These things are dirt cheap, too. So all you're going to do is you're just going to kind of figure out where you want some little trees to be and just drop them in. No real right or wrong way of doing this. They're just little background trees. But wherever you put these, you have to kind of picture it folding down and reflecting into the water. You want to just kind of follow your angles. Alright, so there's our gray layer. Grab my hair dryer so this goes by a lot faster. I need another little dish for my white gesso. This should work. Yep. Alright, so we go into white. Sweet cap. Alright. Grab this. Clean up my finger. I gotta go wash this gray out, so I'll be right back. Dry this really, really well. What's up, Ghost Cuber? Alright. Nice and dry. So now what we're going to do is put in trees in the foreground. So again, you're just going to kind of put these wherever. I should have put this on something flat now that I think about it. Well, we'll see how this works. Alright, so put one here, one there, one there, one there, like that. Kind of like a crookedy tree. Alright, so now we gotta go put these down into the bottom. Let's extend them down. And they don't have to be exactly the same. These are just reflections, really. Alright, now you can grab don't know, I guess I'll use like a little script liner brush. You can go in and put all kinds of little branches on all these things. I'm just going to put a bunch of little branches, little spots for squirrels to run around and little birdies to sit on. And since this is an acrylic paint, it's water-based, so it does have the potential to dry out on you while you're using it. If that happens, you can just add a little bit more water to your little cup that has your paint in it. You just kind of let the brush bounce around, and you can like do like little bumpy moves with your arm. You know, just kind of bounce your hand around and stuff. It'll put little like crooks and stuff in your little tree limbs. It's basically wherever you think there should be a branch. This would be a very good little spot to go squirrel hunting. You'd be eating good after you left here. You know, the more little branches you put on, the better. So you can sit here for hours and hours and hours putting these little branches in. I'm not going to do that though. Let's have like a big one right there. Alright, there's that. Okay, we're getting there. So now you gotta reflect some of those branches down here too. It doesn't need to be exact, you know, just kind of drop them in. Just really loose, really quick and easy. It's kind of like one of those things, like the faster you do it, the better. That way you're not sitting here thinking about what you're doing or like overthinking it. It's like one of like the big enemies of painting is you'll sit there and just overthink stuff. Especially when you're doing like this style of painting. When you're working up close on it like this, you can't see how it's blending, you know? So sometimes you can really drive yourself crazy. You'll see like a little itty bitty brush mark or like a little glob of paint that's out of place. You know, just drive you insane. Let's put these little branches on. Alright, so now it's all reflected down into the little area down there. This little thing is going to be like a pond down here. How long have I been painting? I did oils for like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years ago. I mean, for 6 or 7 years. But that was late 90s, early 2000s. And then after that, I moved on to a different style. It's I was doing like a lot of spray paint stuff. And I just now got back into this. Alright, so you want to dry all this. There we go. So now I got to wash this out. But grand total, I've been painting for almost 20 years. Maybe more. I don't know. I lost count. There we go. Alright, so now that that is all dry, we can do another cool little technique. This is liquid black right here. So all I'm going to do with this is put a little bit onto a fan brush, and then I'm going to not be able to open this. And then I'm going to take that brush and run the bristles against the edge of the knife, kind of splashing little dots onto here, and then I'm going to go back in with the brush and pull them so it'll look like birch bark when it's all said and done. So let's grab. Let's use this little ketchup container lid or whatever these things are. So here's the knife. Clean this sucker off. There we go. You played. Okay. We're just going to get a little bit of paint on the bristles. I'm just going to hold the knife, just flick some paint onto here. You guys probably can't even see it right now. There's little dots that are being flicked onto the canvas right now. Right, now that we have done that, I guess it doesn't really matter what brush you use for this part. So I think I'll use just a small fan brush. And so you're just going to want to go where these little black dots are on your tree and touch them and just pull. Kind of do like a little C shape, like a little cupping shape. I'm going to put little streakies across it. No, now that I think about it, I could have probably just used black gesso for this. There we go. Now we have like little black streaky things going across. Yeah, I didn't think you guys would be able to see those. But trust me, they're there. Okay, so now what we have to do is we got to cover this whole thing with liquid clear. This is liquid clear. Same thing as liquid white, it's just see-through. A little bit of this goes a long way. And the bad thing about this stuff, if you use too much of it, you'll come back like an hour later and your painting will have melted off of the canvas and it'll be a big puddle on your floor. That happened to me the first time I used this stuff. I was doing a seaside painting and it looked really, really good and everything. I was super happy with it. And I went away and came back a couple hours later and this whole entire top half had just run down like that and all the bottom stuff was like running down the wall and everything. Oh, it was booty. So you want to use just a little bit of this stuff. I guess I'll just put it right on the palette. I'm going to say I need like an area that I can put this on, so I'll just do it right here. Yeah, just a tiny, tiny bit of this stuff. It goes a long way. So you're really gonna like scrub this stuff on. You wanna really, 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 really get it in there. But it's important you let this gesso dry completely, because if you tried to scrub this stuff on and it was still wet, it would just smear all over the place. But I cannot stress enough, a thin, thin, thin coat. You want to start painting? Dude, this technique is a very, very user-friendly way of doing it, man. The only bad thing is oils are pretty expensive. One of these little tubes is $10. And you're typically using... Like if you do like a bare bones painting, you can use like 2 to 3 colors, but ideally you have like 5 or 6. And then the brushes themselves are pretty expensive. This big brush right here, it's like a a $25 brush. The fan brushes are all around like 15. So between like 15 and 25 bucks will be the cost of all the different brushes. You definitely want a big brush. You definitely want at least one fan brush. Ideally you get a number 3 and a number 6. And then there's like more specialized brushes, but you don't need to get those right away. But if you get online, I'm sure you could do some hunting and you could find some kind of a good package deal. I'm actually going to be ordering a case of all the colors in the big tube varieties. I think like the whole thing costs like 250 bucks. But that is a phenomenal deal for all the paints, especially in the big tubes. So I'm really scrubbing this on here. I'm really scrub it in there. And then just to make sure I don't have too much on, I'm gonna go over it with a paper towel. Just to be extra certain that there's not too much on. Yeah, the brushes are expensive, dude. That's the bad part. So I'm just doing this to make sure that there isn't too much of the liquid clear. So all that came off. Alright, that feels pretty good. You can just barely feel it on there. That's kind of what you want. Alright, so now that liquid clear is on there, instead of applying a lot of color, we're just going to be pretty much putting like a glaze over everything. So to do that, I think I need to clean off a spot on the palette. So let me do that really quick. So yeah, if you've ever wondered why paintings are expensive, it's because the equipment is expensive. That's kind of the bad thing. I mean, even canvases are expensive. Like if you're doing like really nice pieces of art, like let's say you get commissioned to do something, you're gonna probably be dropping at least 50 bucks just for your canvas. Being colorblind, yeah, that could That could pose some problems. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter, dude. The day that you get all this stuff is the day that you get your own artist license. So you can paint anything you want. Right? Oh man. Some of these frickin' tubes are so tough to open. Alright. So go into just a tiny bit of phthalo blue. Let's pull it out. Tap your bristles into it. Gives you a nice even distribution. Alright, so in real light we're going to go across the whole thing. So having the liquid clear on here almost just makes it like a glaze instead of like an actual paint that's being applied. So it makes all kinds of pretty little effects. Okay, yeah, you can see that it's kind of putting a blue glaze over it. Alright, so then I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow ochre. We're going to do the same thing, just kind of in the middle. And you got to be careful when you're using this yellow ochre because you already have blue on the canvas. So if this yellow touches it, it's going to make a little bit of a green. So if you want green in it, just purposely touch the blue and the yellow together. And then if you don't, just be careful when you get close to the blue. I don't really mind if I get a little green in there. Nice clean brush. Alright. So we'll go into some yellow ochre. wrap this into the bristles. And we'll start in the middle. Work upward. Alright, now we have that. Now you can kind of see where the yellow and blue touched and made a little shade of green. I don't know if it's really showing up on there or not. Okay, so now the rest of the painting is just going to be done with white. It's going to be some snow and stuff like that in the background. I mean, you can really use whatever brush you want for this part. I mean, you could even use your finger if you wanted. You just pull out like a little white and then go in between these trees. And just put it in there if you want to use your finger. I don't really want to. So I'm going to clean off my fan brush. Alright, so go into some white. And you're basically going to make a horizon line first, just separating your trees from their reflections. Just laying that in and letting it fade off into nothing once it gets over to the edge. This is a very simple painting to do. We said this is going to be like a little pond over here. So throw some white on real quick. This is just putting like a little base coat on. We're going to go around and fix it up, make it look all pretty. So now you want to go in and using a lot of paint. You're going to start laying in where like snowbanks and stuff would be. It's all about making layers with your land. Making layers. Just follow the lay of the land. Okay, good. It's looking good. Alright, now I'm going to start working on this back side. So I'm going to actually grab just a tiny bit of liquid white. So I don't want to have to really like scrub too hard back here. You can make it look like little snowbanks kind of overhanging. Right below them. And then pull some of it. So you just form the lay of your land, you know, using your different angles and stuff. We'll go back in here, we'll put a little bit of snow in the very, very back between these trees. So it looks like there's stuff way back there. Little indications. There's some faraway snow. Just let it fade off into nothingness. And then you can go back in and blend it out with like your finger or a brush or whatever. I just kind of go over the little tree trunks just to get any of the color that's covering them. And then you can take your big brush, make sure it's clean, just really gently. You're just going to blend that little back layer. Just so it almost disappears. And a nice little sneaky way of making it get pushed back even more is just to put bright color in front of it. So we'll just be putting like pure white right in front of it. So just go right along here. Some nice bright white. There we go. Right, and then we can just go into a little bit of the color, into a little bit of white. And then we'll just put some little streaky things going across here to make it kind of look like it's ice that has like some snow blown over it or something. This will just bring the whole thing together. So this is a nice cold little painting. Actually, it's a warm painting because I used phthalo and yellow ochre. Let's clean up some of the little edges. And just like that, we have a nice little snowy mountain, or not mountain, a little snowy forest area at night. So this is just like another cool